What's good? We are going to get into the show in a minute. I'm chilling. I just sat down. You know what I mean? This is the homie. Already know, man. Black China. Not Black China. God damn it. Malicious China. Another China. I just realized that. I always like somebody with that name. We're going to get back, continuing from the book of Dark Manipulation. Dark Psychology 101. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. This is going to be on a loop while we get the show prep. We're going to do some recaps from the show. And I actually can tell you when I sat down and I was writing things down today from the show, I actually remember a lot of things. I actually sat down from what I read with you guys. I recapped a lot of things and I wrote it all down. I remember all the things that was being said. Why is Malicious China playing on the screen? I think Malicious China is a very creative, unique artist. I love that she channels La Muerte. Excuse me if I butchered that name, but you know who I'm talking about. And I think that she does dark magic. She she does not like black men at all. At all. But she channels and makes the music that she makes. And further down in this dark psychology, as I go in more lessons, these are the type of topics that I'm going to get into as we go further down the line in understanding dark psychology. How is it that someone can hate someone, not really have a care for a certain culture or energy of someone, but channel it and be around it to have their success? This is going to fall into the topic of hypnosis. This is going to fall into the topic of when we get more into, you know what I'm saying? The topic of, understanding not just NLP, which is natural. Jeez, I keep forgetting something language. What is the NLP again? I keep forgetting what the anagram is, but I know the last word is language. Okay. Natural something language. I keep forgetting the damn projecting language something. But what she's doing is a lot darker than that. It is the same thing that the Kardashians do. So as we walk through this is still a part of the Black Woman's Guide. Because, we hear about what's called this word I've been hearing a lot. Y'all call it grifter, right? I think that's the word, right? A grifter. And what I see with this grifting energy, as you guys call it, is that these people have a great way of taking someone else's lifestyle, someone else's way of energy, someone else's way of rapping, taking everything from someone else and manifesting their success with it. This is something that happens very often to the Black woman. Okay? The Black woman deals with grifting of her all the time. Am I not lying about that? All the time, you see, and the ones that they want the grift all the time is that hood chick. The ones that they want to always grift is that chick in the projects. Why is that? Why does the one with that attitude, the one who talks a certain way and she don't give a fuck, okay, the one who drops the T, the same one that the gay Black male and the white male also emulates? Because even if he emulates the gay Black male, he is still emulating the Black woman, because the gay Black male is emulating the Black woman. Correct? That trans woman is still emulating the Black woman. So even if anyone emulates the gay Black male, they are still emulating her. They're still grifting from her. So what is it about that energy, right? But we're going to go ahead and get into the dark psychology. Alrighty then. We're going to stop where we left off at. And we're going to go into some lessons, okay? Because that video is quite a little disturbing because it's moving around a lot. But let's get into our lessons. The first lesson, we learned that, number one, we learned about what's that? Convert emotional manipulation. CEM. Convert emotional manipulation. Right? We learned about what that is. We also learned that there's a difference between the influencer and the manipulator. The influencer is the one who wants to teach you something. They want to show you something. They want to give you something, right? They want you to learn something from them. Okay? While the manipulator wants to give you what they intend to give you. That's the manipulator. So we learned that that's the difference between the influencer and the manipulator. At first I had an argument with that, but that's how they describe the influencer versus the manipulator. 2. They went into chapter 2 where we're at right now. We were talking about dark persuasion. And it went into relationships. And then it went into how it's the long game, right? So we talked about that. The long con is what they call it, right? We call it the long game, but it's called the long con. We're going to use the same words that they use. And of course, we got into the introduction of dark psychology, which is a study of people and human behavior, right? Which is what psychology is, correct? So, as we go on with this book a little bit more, right? I just realized that this is a different author. This is a different author from the one. Okay. We're going to still keep going with this, Michael Pace, because there's Michael Pace and there's Neil Brighton, okay? Because I just realized what I did there. But we're still going to keep it moving, right? And we're going to continue from where we were at. I'm going to sit back and chill. And we're going to, remember, I'm going to pause. We're going to dissect. We're going to take this in. We make sure you get your notebook. We're going to write this down. If you have any questions, anything you want to ask me, just go ahead and ask me in the chat room. I got you.
Protected is no easy endeavor.
Meet Jobber Copilot, your AI business coach, data analyst, and marketing expert in your back pocket. Jobber Copilot was designed to help home service pros
have the desire to influence others, usually for their own benefit. Undetected mind controllers are often more cowardly and logical than other manipulators, however. Unlike impulsive psychopaths, undetected mind controllers are likely to only act after careful consideration. To control someone's mind in a way that remains undetected is no easy endeavor. It requires deliberate knowledge and application. Because of this, mind controllers are patient and cunning people. They also fear being caught out, so they aim to hide their methods as much as possible. They are like hidden puppet masters, pulling their victim's strings from behind a curtain. Undetected mind control tactics. Let's learn about the specific methods used by manipulators to control a victim's mind in an
All right, let's
undetected
write
way.
this down.
We will explore both the interpersonal and media techniques that comprise a manipulator's toolkit. Examples will be provided of how such techniques can be used on an individual or broader collective scale. Finding those in need. One of the first and most important tactical principles of undetected mind control is finding a victim with a goal. It has been proven, both scientifically and anecdotally, that a person who has a pressing need or desire is more susceptible to undetected mind control than someone who feels at ease and satisfied. This can range from a small, physical goal such as feeling thirsty and seeking a drink, to a large, psychological goal, such as craving love and affection. Think of someone who is looking for another person in a crowd. They will manage to filter out all the people who are not their goal and hone in on the one who is. The brain is similar. If there is something it needs or wants, it is able to direct a person toward it, even if they are unaware any control is taking place. The best mind controllers will discreetly find out what a victim's goals are and seek to manipulate them with these in mind. One classic example of the susceptibility of people with a goal is an experiment conducted in subliminal influence. Subliminal influence is another name for undetected mind control. Two sets of people were shown a film with a hidden image of an iced tea. One set of people were thirsty, the others not. When given the chance to purchase a specific drink from a selection, the thirsty individuals purchased the iced tea in greater numbers than would be expected statistically. This is evidence that, when a person's brain is desperate for something, it will gladly take suggestions on what to choose. So how does this principle work on an individual, interpersonal level? If a mind controller finds a victim who is desperately craving something in their life, usually the fulfillment of some deep emotional need, the manipulator will be able to control their mind with greater ease. If, for example, a victim has recently suffered a romantic relationship breakup, it is likely their psyche is craving company. The mind controller will influence their target into thinking that they are the victim's savior when, in reality, they are likely to be their ruin. Some of the most common areas of need a manipulator will seek to exploit include a person's need for monetary stability, their need to belong, and their need for company. These vulnerabilities can be exploited by an experienced manipulator for a number of purposes.
BetterHelp has been revolutionary in connecting people to mental health services.
Using BetterHelp can be as easy as opening your laptop or your phone and clicking a button, and the session begins.
The manipulator may seek to sexually or financially exploit their victim. They may seek to gain their allegiance to some form of cult or ideologically extreme movement. They may simply toy with the victim for their own sadistic pleasure. Restricting choice. Restricting choice is a verbal form of undetected mind control. It is a very subtle form of dark psychology, because it provides the manipulator with a range of built-in, get-out clauses should their victim turn suspicious. The key to this particular form of mind control is to take away any real choice that a victim has regarding a particular circumstance while maintaining the illusion that the victim was in control all along. The restriction of choice is similar to a popular and powerful sales technique known as the choice close. We will use an example to illustrate this process, clearly identifying the difference between someone behaving in a psychologically normal way and a dark manipulator who seeks only to serve their own purpose at the expense of others. Take the scenario of a woman being asked out on a date. A regular guy might work up the courage to ask his question, lacking confidence or certainty, and then finally stammer out an open-ended question, such as, "Would you like to go out with me?" Such a question leaves a clear possibility for a response of, "No." This is the usual way things go for people who are not familiar with the use of dark psychological principles. Someone who knows how to control someone's mind in an undetected way, however, will approach the same scenario very differently. They like to confidently and smoothly charm their victim, to get them laughing and lowering their guard. Then, with total confidence and assurance, the manipulator will ask, so, am I taking you out on Thursday or Saturday? The limited choice presented to the victim, who is in a psychologically soft state due to the charm, will almost always result in the victim choosing between Thursday or Saturday. Answering no was never an option. The diabolical aspect of the above technique is that, unlike other forms of mind control, such as those aided by media, there is no tangible evidence of the words a person has spoken. If, somehow, the victim picks up on the restriction of choices by the manipulator can respond in two ways, a denial or a reframe. A denial allows the manipulator to insist they do not offer a limited choice, and that the victim is remembering things wrongly or worrying too much. A reframe can allow the manipulator to put the victim on the back foot by saying something like, "I can't believe you're analyzing my words so much. That really hurts me, and makes me not want to open up to you." Both the denial and the reframe are effective emergency escape plans for the manipulator who is caught out. Media mind control, images. Just as our five senses are our guides in life, they can also be our enemies and traitors. Our sense of sight and the visual processing areas of the brain are very powerful. We almost always dream visually, even if another sense is missing, and we usually picture someone we are remembering rather than associating some other sensory input with them. This makes imagery and visual manipulation a particularly powerful technique of media mind control.
Okay, let's get to this.
Traditionally, media production was in the...
Before we get to media production, did you catch what he said there? So, I tell y'all all the time, if you can work to not put yourself in compromising situations, you'll be fine, okay? But let's just say you are presented with this. See, I present myself as a very stubborn, selfish woman. I don't even look at people when they talk to me. I'm very dismissive of people. I am very rude, and I mean that when I say that, okay? And I'm going to go back to that example with the Modelo guy. When he kept trying, like he dead ass was really trying to get me to get Modelo while I was getting Blue Ribbon or whatever I was getting, because I drink like Belgian beer. And it's like, no, I only drink this. That's it. I only drink this. Even if I did drink Modelo, I would not let him know that. I only drink this. And it was like he was literally looking like he was going to try to put the Modelo in my motherfucking cart. And that's when I gave him that look. Because you have to see, because what I understand about me is I don't pay people no attention, right? And what I have come to see is Black women have become people's puppy. Black people have become people's puppy, but mainly the Black woman. The Black woman is used to validate the existence of non-Black people, okay? Oh shit, the music is still playing, y'all. My bad. To validate the existence of non-Black people. That's what Black people are for. Okay? That's what they do. And so because of that shit, what happened is, excuse me, text messages. I get people to do shit. No, I'm right here. I get people that do shit like this to me because I don't pay people no attention. Okay? I remember all these books. I just never took them serious. I just thought they was just all about narcissism, and I was just exhausted with the topic of narcissism. You know what I'm saying? But now I finally picked up a book and decided to fucking read on dark psychology. That's what I thought they was just doing. I was like, it felt like a hustle. You know what I mean? It did. It just felt like a hustle. So the thing is, because because I am aware of that about myself is the reason I experience things like that. I don't take it so personal. I just stand my ground. I did not see, coming from the city to the southern region is a very different beast, okay? Because you have to understand the insecurity that comes with people when you walk into a space and you command in that space what you want and what you need. When you walk into a space and you don't do hi hellos, you don't take nobody bullshit. You don't give a fuck that the cops stopped their fucking son. We don't give a fuck. I came here for an ashtray, lady. How much is this shit? Is this shit on sale? Give a fuck about your son getting pulled over by the cops. Because then when you give them a response they don't expect, they ain't got nothing to say. They don't know what to say to you. Excuse me. Listen, y'all gotta stop texting me. I'm live. God damn. The one I just text, hold on, where you at? No, you fine. Not you. Not you. Somebody else I was trying to call before I started the show. Stop responding. God damn it. All right, let me get back to the show. So, goddamn, the black woman has become that. So when you demand a space, now let's get back to the book. Let's not get rolled off the harbor. Nobody gets to give you a motherfucking choice. Okay? People should be compartmentalized in your motherfucking life. You should demand answers. And remember that no answer is an answer. So if you're in a situation where someone going to give you a choice about, oh, so we going to Taco Bell or we going to Popeyes? You mean, are you going to Taco Bell or Popeyes? Because I ain't going to neither. You have to have that confidence. You have to stay in your brain. When I walk outside, I project an energy. I want you to do the same thing. I project a very mean fucking don't talk to me energy. Okay? Let me tell you how deep it is. The same racist, the most racist motherfucker who would not even fuck with someone like me, I get their attention. Even they look at me and want to know who the fuck I am, or who the fuck I think I am, or who I know that I think that I am. That's the energy I want you to do. I can feel that when I walk into spaces, how uncomfortable and angry. I can feel it throughout my whole body. I don't play with nobody. I don't give a fuck about your jokes. And I damn sure don't give a fuck about your kids. Be up in the line, lady. I got shit to do. You can giggle because your kid is doing something. I guess getting a pack of bubble gum. I guess that's cute to you, bitch. It ain't cute to me. I want you to hurry up. That's the energy that I have. And I'm not making that up. I'm dead ass serious. I'm like that. Move around. Get out my way. I have seen people. The last situation I had was at Walmart. I was walking with my partner, minding my goddamn business. Because let me tell you something. I don't say hi, hello to no motherfucking body. I don't smile at no goddamn body. When I go outside, it means business. When I'm going shopping, it means business. The only motherfucker that get my attention is the person that I'm with. It don't matter who she talk to. I'm not going to talk to them too. Most people be like, oh, I like your shirt too. I'll be like, oh, thanks. Because thanks is a very rude thing to say. Thank you is a little bit more courteous, but thanks is like, it's kind of like a stab in the chest. But let's go ahead and go into the media influence. Let's go.
Hands of companies and institutions.
Take note.
These manipulative entities were able to pioneer the use of visual, subliminal mind control. Examples include split-second pictures of a product or person inserted into a seemingly innocent movie. Such split-second images, which the person perceives as nothing more than a flash of light, are able to take powerful control of a person's emotions. They have been used as recently as 21st-century presidential elections. Worryingly, such devastatingly impactful imagery techniques are now in the hands of individual manipulators. Even worse, such techniques can now be tailored to a specific victim. If the victim has a particular fear of or aversion to something, the manipulator can subtly use the feared image to access and warp a person's emotions without them knowing. Let's look at an example of individual imagery mind control. We live in the age of smartphones and video. Everything can shoot high-definition clips at the touch of a screen and send them at blistering speeds to someone else. High-tech manipulators are therefore able to allude to feared images. For example, if a manipulative boyfriend is aware that his girlfriend has a deep fear of insects, he may accidentally place a book with a picture of an insect on its cover in the background during a video chat. The girlfriend is unlikely to consciously register the book's presence, but on a subtle, emotional level, she will be feeling its impact. Media mind control, sound. Sound is another way in which a person is vulnerable to undetected mind control. Both experiments and personal experience will confirm this to you. Have you ever had a song stuck in your head? How easy was it to get rid of? The sound had a powerful influence.
Whispers. Whispers. I don't like people talking in my ear. I talk on the speaker. Whispers. I promise you, you'll hear and you'll feel the conversation better when someone's not in your ear. I pay attention to the tone someone speaks in when they speak to me. I do not talk to people at home. Only certain people who know me, y'all get to talk to me at night. But anything else, nobody gets to talk to me at night. Once the sun goes down, certain people do not get to talk to me. Not allowed. Sound, whispers, okay? Tone, energy. Pay attention to all of that. You feel what people are saying to you. You feel, but you feel with your mind. You be logical. You listen. You pose questions. You see what I'm saying? Example, the neighbor. What did I say? I said, as soon as I told the son, and I was like, and I expressed something that sounded like concern for the father. That's when the father started knocking on the door asking for fucking help. And that's when I put it together. Oh, you motherfuckers think I'm going to be your father's fucking nurse? You got me all the way fucked up.
Over you, even though you knew it was present. The power of audio manipulation is even greater when it is undetected. Experiments have shown that if restaurant customers are exposed to music from a particular region, they are more likely to order wine from that country. When questioned,
let me get into that for a second. Also, when I say I don't fuck with a certain group of music, I don't fuck with it. And don't let somebody else try to tell you different. I remember this one woman said, well, you just don't know what hip hop to listen to. No, bitch, I don't listen to it. Okay? Because what happens is it may seem, I'm trying to tell you, it may seem very small, but it's big. When you say you only fuck with a certain genre of music, you stick to that. All right? Because you may think that it may not matter, but it does fucking matter. Because sound and frequencies and all that plays a part with this. All right, let's go.
They had no idea that something as simple as sound had steered their decision. One famous example of media mind control using sound is the hiding of words and phrases in songs and other media containing a soundtrack. There have been lawsuits aiming to prove that musicians hide occult references in their work and to ban them from doing so. This has also happened, with more serious impact, beyond the world of entertainment media. Governments have sometimes used audio mind control as a form of brainwashing. For example, in North Korea, people are forced to listen to patriotic songs at regular intervals.
Mm-mm.
These embed themselves deep inside a person's mentality and affect an unseen influence. For a less extreme example, think of advertising jingles. If a person is prompted by the sound of a famous jingle, like the McDonald's "I'm lovin' it" melody, the person usually repeats the advertising message on autopilot.
Loving it. Here, they're getting you with a hip hop beat, a trap music beat.
Meet Dalpad AI Sales, a new way.
See?
Audio undetected mind control can also be used by individual manipulators. There is a range of interpersonal influence tactics using auditory mind control of varying types. Even if you know the tactics, it is still difficult to recognize them being executed. This is because of their stealthy, underhand nature. One of the creepiest forms of auditory mind control is subliminally influencing a person as they sleep. Have you ever seen those CDs and tapes that are played during sleep to help people to stop smoking? A skilled mind controller is the evil equivalent of such products. When a victim is at their most vulnerable and totally lets their guard down by sleeping, the manipulator will take this chance to implant their dark and devious commands in a person's ear and let them sink into the deepest layers of the brain. Another form of interpersonal auditory mind control is masking words with similar sounding words or noises. Have you ever seen the film American Psycho? Although it's fiction, it shows genuine mind control techniques. The main character, serial killer Patrick Bateman, blatantly tells his victims what he does: "I'm in executions and murders." When questioned as to what he said, he calmly responds, "I'm in acquisitions and mergers." The subliminal influence is already in the person's psychological recesses. Sounds that are outside the range of human perception are a form of auditory mind control that both individuals and organizations can use. Such sounds, which are particular frequencies, impart deep feelings of terror, dread, or unease into those who are exposed to them unknowingly. Although widely used in horror movies, some innovative mind controllers have successfully used such sounds to impact the emotional stability and well-being of their victims. Chapter 4. Mind Games. Mind games. Always dark. Mind games is one of the most commonly heard expressions in this book. Unlike many other dark psychological traits that feature in these pages, mind games are something many people would claim to understand and recognize in the course of their everyday life. People are...
Mind games is where I want you all to get very aggressive. Okay? Because I had that experience when I came down here. Man, you up north motherfuckers. When y'all come to the south, y'all some trifling motherfuckers. I just want to tell y'all that. Y'all trifling. Y'all trife as a motherfucker. Y'all not even trifling. Y'all trife than a motherfucker. I see why y'all come down here. I get it. I get it. I'm waking up. Let me tell you something. All right? Motherfucker was stealing. And I know they thought it was me. And I never said nothing. Because I knew if they think somebody's stealing, they're going to be watching. So what happened was he was always counting the money. And I noticed one dude was like, "Nah, you don't count money right. I don't want you counting my money. I want you counting my bank." Da 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 da, right? Aries dude. I remember. And one of the dudes that been there the longest, that was the closest to the manager, I was like, "Yeah, they think I'm stealing the money." I even slickly said it to one of the gay guys at the job. I was like, "Man, that nigga stealing money." Yada yada. I said it real slick and passed him my wallet. Like, I ain't stealing nothing. Needless to motherfucking say, he got caught stealing. He got caught. Sometimes you don't always have to say anything unless needed. If my back was against the wall, I mean, if I really wanted to be fucked up, I would have let him know, like, but I didn't do that. I played the game very, very smart. Everybody plays mind games. There's a book called Games People Play. Mm-hmm. Let's go. This probably gonna be my favorite chapter.
Rarely able to accurately recognize and understand mind games, however. Just as many people say the phrase, "I feel depressed," without meeting the psychological definition for depression, many people feel they understand mind games when really they have no idea what this means. Some people will attribute a wide range of normal behavior to mind games. For example, if someone is teasing them or hinting at some kind of surprise, they will say the person is playing mind games. This is untrue, at least within the world of dark psychology. The intentions of someone playing genuinely dark mind games are not good, positive, or friendly. Therefore, innocent games such as teasing and surprises fall outside of the mind games categorization right away. So if innocent games are not mind games in the dark psychology sense of the term, what exactly are? Mind games are any type of psychological scheme on behalf of a manipulator toward the victim that is intended to play games with the victim's sanity and willpower.
Mind games is a psychological scheme. Let's write that down. Mind games is a psychological scheme. That says enough right there, just a psychological scheme. Let's put that up on a mind games. Write that down. Mind games is a psychological scheme.
This differs from other types of dark psychological manipulation in the sense that the manipulator is often toying with the victim. The manipulator is less invested in the outcome than they are in some other types of manipulation, and has less regard for the severity of the situation. A dark mind game can therefore be understood as one played by the manipulator for their own amusement and delight without any regard for the victim's well-being. Depending on the type of mind game, the intention is often to test the victim and explore their psyche, just as a child would test and try out a new toy. The best dark psychological mind games are played without their true nature being apparent. This can make them difficult to detect and very destructive to deploy. The motivation behind mind games. In exploring the difference between mind games that are dark and those that are not, we touched upon the motivation behind manipulative mind games. The range of motivations that underpin manipulative mind games will now be explored more fully. This shows the spectrum of dark motivation that underpins this commonly found manifestation of dark psychology. One reason for the playing of mind games is to manipulate the victim into performing a behavior or thinking or feeling a certain way. The manipulator, in this situation, may feel that their other forms of manipulation are not effective and may try something less obvious, such as a mind game. The manipulator may also choose to influence their victim in this way for their own twisted amusement. This occurs if the manipulator is trying to get pleasure as well as influence as a result of their mind game deployment. The specific types of influence that can be attained by playing mind games will be explored in further detail in this chapter's next section. Basically, mind games are good for reducing a victim's certainty and psychological strength in a very subtle way that is hard to perceive. Mind games can also be used to achieve influence while maintaining the victim's illusion of autonomy. Influencing a victim is far from the only motivation behind the playing of mind games, however. Many manipulators play mind games as a form of entertainment and for no deeper purpose whatsoever. They enjoy and derive pleasure from plotting a way to impact a victim's psychology and watching the victim succumb to their intentions. Such manipulation is similar to a form of sociopathic detachment. Manipulators of this type are able to ignore the fact that their victim is an equal human being with feelings and thoughts. Instead, the manipulator
I have ADHD. I have ADD. I'm autistic. DID. When have people, excuse me, herpes, HIV, when has it been that people were so open about mental conditions? That was something that was very hidden. People kept that as a secret. You remember that? I remember people would tell me about it. Was told in whispers like, yeah, I don't want to say, but that person has a mental condition and nobody can see it. Some people be disabled and handicapped. You know, we don't say that word, but they be disabled, physically disabled in some kind of way, and they want to hide that from people. People have been catfished by disabled people. Okay? That's mind games, y'all. That's manipulation. Why are you telling me that you're autistic? Why are you telling me you have DID? That's dissociative something disorder. Why are you telling me you ADHD? ADD? I understand having OCD, right? My OCD. People are a little bit more open to say that. There's nothing wrong with that because you can't hide. When you OCD, you can't hide your OCD. Okay? And another thing that I have to add, you have to pay attention to how people behave. I'm off my meds. You see, stuff like that. What kind of behavior is going to come after they tell you this? See what I'm saying? Mind games. There were things that were kept secret. Now everybody just suddenly is autistic and this and that. Have you ever noticed anybody on dating sites? A lot of trans and non-binaries are so open to tell you this shit. Think about that. Why would the trans community be the one to tell you this shit so much?
Simply sees the victim as a system that exists to be figured out and manipulated for fun. This form of mind game is particularly dangerous, as victims can be driven to suicide simply to amuse the person playing games with them. Sometimes, dark psychological mind games are played as a form of learned behavior rather than representing any kind of conscious intent on the part of the manipulator. This happens when the manipulative individual has simply been exposed to such mind games throughout the course of their life and knows no other way. This may be seen as somehow innocent, but it is not. Just because someone does something evil automatically does not absolve them of the moral responsibility of doing so. In some ways, the manipulators who play dark mind games without having to think about it are the most dangerous. They do not know any other option, so have no prospect of reforming and becoming more balanced human beings as a result. The Dark Psychologist's Playbook, Main Mind Games Explained. Now that we understand the difference between a dark psychological mind game and a regular mind game, it is important to explore the specific types of mind games that are found. Much like the overall concept.
So now that we got an understanding that the mind game is a psychological scheme, okay? Now, also it's very key to write down certain words to help you identify it. That's how I write it down. All right, so now he's going to break down the different types of mind games, the ones that are, regular as everyday mind games, versus what is a dark psychological mind game.
Of mind games, the specific games people play often have innocent and dark variants. Knowing which are examples of dark psychology and which part of everyday life is essential to understanding this particular facet of dark psychology. Ultimatums. What exactly is an ultimatum? It is when one person presents another with a severe choice. This typically takes the form of a demand word as, do this, or this will happen. Some examples include, quit smoking, or I will leave you, or lose weight, or I will see other people. Ultimatums are any type of request that is actually closer to a demand. Ultimatums are one of the main forms of dark.
This is something I went through with a friend. Well, if you keep talking to this person, I'm gonna block you. And I would be like to myself, well, don't threaten me with a good time. And when I started noticing and paying attention to this person a lot closer, it was that type of bullshit that made me eventually get rid of them.
Dark psychological game playing, but this does not mean that every ultimatum is a mind game. The three factors that determine whether an ultimatum can be understood as dark psychology are the type of person issuing the ultimatum, their intention for doing so, and the nature of the ultimatum itself. Each of these three aspects will now be explored in turn to provide a comprehensive picture of the ultimatum manipulation tactic and its use. The person issuing an ultimatum is a key factor as to whether an ultimatum is a manifestation of dark psychology or not. In the example of a legitimate, non-dark ultimatum, the person issuing it will often have a valid and genuine care about the person they are attempting to help. Examples of some possible legitimate individuals include a person's close relative, sibling, or spouse. Just because someone falls into one of these categories, however, does not automatically mean their ultimatum is free of dark psychology.
Never cut nobody off for nobody. Who the fuck are they? You love them that much that you're going to cut off what's been in your life for most of your life? And if somebody allow you to do that, you're going to be dealing with some shit. You have to be very careful. Because if they can you got to think about it too. If they can cut that person off for you, was it really genuine what they have for that person? And you needed to check if do they have something genuine for you. You got to think about that part too. You got to play chess. And nobody should be trying to take anyone away from you that been there. Why are they trying to get you to get rid of something that's yours? And why are they waiting to a certain amount of time to ask you? Give or take. Some people know that some people are toxic. And their intentions is like, yo, you need to cut this person off. But when you truly love somebody, you have to sometimes sit back and watch, and you have to make the decision that you may have to go away.
Psychology.
God damn it.
Need the perfect voice for your video game character?
The motivation behind the ultimatum is another key element of how to understand it. People who issue ultimatums with a good intention are motivated by the desire to help or make something better in someone's life. This could be to improve their health or stop them from carrying out a bad habit. An example of a well-motivated ultimatum may include, don't drink as much or I can't be around you, or let's go to the gym together or it won't be appropriate to have any more kids. Such ultimatums are issued with the intention and purpose of helping someone make a good choice and carry out some type of behavior that has a positive life impact. Judging the intention of an ultimatum is difficult, however, and for this reason it is not always possible to identify a darkly manipulative ultimatum from the intention behind it. Instead, the nature of the ultimatum itself is often the best way to figure out whether it is manipulative or not. Dark psychological ultimatums will often involve the person being requested to perform them acting against their own self-interest or doing something that violates their personal morals. In aiming for this outcome, the manipulator is able to test the extent to which their victim is willing to go against what they believe in. On the contrary, good ultimatums will not require a person to do anything harmful or anything that goes against their own conscience. By now, you should be able to understand what a good ultimatum looks like, in terms of the person issuing it, their motivation for doing so and the purpose of the ultimatum itself. So what is a textbook example of a darkly psychological ultimatum? The first hallmark of a dark psychology ultimatum is the person who is issuing it. They will often not have a valid status within their victim's life. For example, the ultimatum giver may be someone the victim is having an illicit romance with, the victim's boss, or a friend who has far too much psychological influence and control over a victim. They can also take a valid role within the victim's life, such as being a spouse, parent, etc. If they are someone on the edges of a person's social circle and are issuing ultimatums, it is an indication that dark psychology is being deployed. So what kind of ultimatums do such darkly psychological people issue? Some examples include ultimatums that are harmful to the person presented with them or that go against the person's moral character. Let's picture a victim who has an aversion to drinking alcohol for either health or ethical reasons. The manipulator will note this aversion and recognize it as a source of amusement and pleasure for their own dark mind. The manipulator will then use the idea of alcohol as a basis for ultimatums with which to bend and twist their victim's will. Some examples of these ultimatums include, do a shot with me or I'm going home, or either drink or don't bother coming to the party. You won't be welcome there. Some of the most extreme ultimatums can involve self-harm, suicide, or even murder. For example,
You have to check your energy, people. You won't attract it if it's not already there in your energy. It won't come around if it's not already in the back of that head. What they call the kuf in Hebrews. Excuse me. You won't attract it. You also have to check energetically, what are you engaging in? Okay? Excuse me. Okay, or you won't attract it. What am I saying here? In these cases, if you ain't a hoe, get up out my trap house. If you ain't fucking, get out. Because if you ain't fucking, get out. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. You have to be wise. They could manipulate you and make you fuck when you don't want to. You see? So you have to pay attention. Anything that involves alcohol and drugs, I stay the fuck away from it. Okay? At my adult years right now, I don't smoke with everybody. I don't drink with everybody. That's my rule. I don't even let people see what I drink or how I drink. That's my rule. When I chose to get a beer with a neighbor, that was something, that was me just like, shit, I want a Corona because I have been wanting a Corona. So I got me a Corona. But at the same time, you still have to be careful. You have to be vigilant at all times.
the manipulator may tell the victim, cut your arm, or I will cut mine 3 times. A manipulative girlfriend may issue an ultimatum to her boyfriend telling him to kill this other man or I will leave you, because it will prove you don't care for me. At the most extreme end of the spectrum, people are manipulated into taking their own life under the pretense of a suicide pact. Once the victim has died, the manipulator does not carry out their side of the bargain. The eternal breakup. One of the fundamental requirements for a happy, peaceful, and stable romantic relationship is a feeling of security and contentment. People in happy romances or marriages feel at ease and do not feel a sense of constant threat that their relationship might come to an end at any time. Masters of dark psychology are aware of these principles and do everything possible to invert them for their own twisted aims. By cultivating a sense of instability, chaos, and negativity within a relationship, the manipulator is able to ensure that their victim is as powerless as possible. The eternal breakup is one of the most common and effective manipulation mind games used within a romantic context to cause instability and anxiety. What exactly is it? It is the persistent and prolonged use of threatening to leave someone. This may take the form of implied breakups, promised breakups, or actual breakups that are not followed through on. Examples for each of these types of tactic, as well as the impact they have, will now be carefully considered. Implied breakups are those that do not actually involve the overt mention of breaking up.
Somebody once told me, my ex-girlfriend was going to try to kill herself. I said, is she dead? And he paused on the phone. I said, well, then she ain't trying to kill herself. Suicide don't happen like that. Hold on, y'all. Unaliving yourself don't happen like that. Shit, I'm already shadow being. Listen. Somebody want to take themselves the fuck out, you won't know. They'll be gone. They'll be dead. That's just how it goes. Somebody, I want to kill myself and nicking the scene and cutting themselves. They ain't trying to kill themselves.
Instead, the manipulator hints at the breakup to plant the seed of doubt in their victim's mind. The manipulator may casually mention future plans that do not involve the person they are with. They may hint at an active breakup, such as by stating, well, I won't put up with that for long, or some other kind of veiled hint. Any type of action or sentence that has the impact of making the victim doubt the relationship's longevity counts as an implied breakup. The promised breakup is a step between an implied breakup and an actual breakup. This is where the manipulator issues threats toward their victim and overtly states they intend to break up with the victim in the future. For example, in the course of a discussion, the manipulator may say something like, "I am going to leave you soon and I won't have to deal with this anymore." Any instance where the manipulator mentions the idea of a breakup, separation, or divorce without actually carrying out the step itself is an example of a promised breakup. The actual breakup, which fails to occur, is the final example, and most severe, of the eternal breakup mind game. This is where the manipulator actually breaks up with their victim without following through on it. They may pack a bag to leave, recognize their victim's discomfort and sadness, and then fail to follow through. They may break up with their victim with no intention of ever following through on it, only to accept the victim back, following begging and sadness.
Let me tell you a little thing.
Big ideas.
If you pay attention enough, you will spot a self-loathing bitch. You will spot the "I'ma kill myself" bitch. We're gonna get into her. We're gonna get into all this stuff. I promise you, to now and to the end of the year, you will spot her. You just have to pay attention enough to see it. You just have to sit around and analyze enough to see it. The beauty of social media, do you hear me? You examine somebody's page from the top to the bottom. I told my partner, I say, yeah, I saw that post of your ex-wife, and when she said that, I said, thought that was so cute. She was like, oh my gosh, how the fuck? I thought that was erased. I thought I got rid of that. I can't believe I can't, I know some pictures that there's no control because that was a person that she was married to and it was I get it, right? And it's history in that relationship. But you with somebody and they still got pictures of their ex up and you can see their prior relationships and shit. You take note of that, goddammit. Don't be stupid. Take note. Wait. Don't get intimate. If you get intimate with somebody, don't even take them serious. If you get intimate too fast, don't take them serious. Okay? I'm being very for real. That's some wisdom right there. If you get intimate too fast, don't take them serious. I did not get intimate fast in this relationship, and I would have waited longer. Okay? And I'm being for real. And the system that I did worked. And there's times I wish we waited even longer for the intimacy. But it's okay, because where we at now. But the point I'm making is, you are to observe everybody. Do you hear me? You are to analyze. I don't give a fuck how you feel. I don't give a fuck about numerology or motherfucking zodiac signs. I don't give a fuck if I give you a reading. You are to observe everybody to a T. Take advantage of social media to analyze and capture personalities. Ask the proper questions when you are reading somebody. Have a template of questions that you in stone ask yourself when getting involved with somebody.
So now that you understand what the eternal breakup is and the different forms it can take, let's explore the purpose behind this particular tactic of psychological manipulation and mind games. This mind game is intended to remove feelings of certainty and security from a victim's life, to reduce their power in relation to their manipulator, and instead place the power in the manipulator's own hands. This form of mind game can also be used as an evil test by the manipulator. By repeatedly breaking up with their victim, the manipulator is able to gauge the extent to which the victim will put up with being played with. The manipulator is also able to portray themselves as the compassionate party by kindly agreeing to not break up with a victim if the victim is emotional and begging for a relationship not to end. So why does this eternal breakup tactic work? Many people, when hearing about the tactic for the first time, think that it does not make sense, as any victim would be pleased to break up with a manipulative person. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of dark psychology, however. The victim is not in a psychologically healthy or normal situation, so they are not in a position to rationally understand why the relationship should end. Instead, they are vulnerable and susceptible to their manipulator's power and influence. For this reason, they are eager to preserve a relationship that has become nothing more than a dark psychological playground for the manipulator to enjoy. The repercussions for someone who has been subject to the eternal breakup for a long time can be very severe. They are likely to develop incredibly serious trust issues and be unable to trust any other person in any other situation. This can destroy a person's professional and family lives, which, ironically, is exactly what the manipulator desires. After an extremely prolonged period of being broken up with, the victim is likely to become almost a subservient slave of the manipulator, doing anything they please to avoid the threat of another breakup. Often, at this point, the manipulator loses interest, having completely broken their victim's will. They move on to a new target, leaving only a ruined life in their wake. Hard to get. Much like ultimatums, the hard-to-get mind game is one that can...
This is how you can manipulate that back. You slowly throw it in their face that they broke up with you before. And you continue to express a sadness over that. You understand? That's how you do it. And you make sure you use the word when you broke up with me. And then you take it back. Like you ain't mean it that way. That's what you do.
Easily be confused for normal, healthy behavior. Some fundamental differences exist, however, that show the hard-to-get mind game to be a clear product of dark psychology. The first step to understanding hard to get is therefore to understand when it is evil and when it is innocent.
Shopify is a platform that helps entrepreneurs get started down the path they want. Sometimes starting a business can be scary. I feel like I lost.
Normal, non-dark psychological use of hard to get is as follows. A person will want to seem like a bit of a challenge to someone they are romantically interested in. They will therefore not be too available. This may involve not accepting every suggested date, not replying to messages or phone calls too quickly, and other types of similar behavior. This has the intention of keeping the other person interested and eventually leading to a happy romantic relationship together. A dark psychological deployment of hard to get is a lot more dangerous, however. The time when this particular mind game is used tends to differ from its innocent usage, and the motivation behind it is also a million miles apart. Users of dark psychological tactics will play hard to get at times of the relationship other than the beginning. Their intention will not be to lead to a positive situation, and their regard will be for anything other than the victim's well-being. The reason hard to get can be used in an innocent way is because it is not violating any expectations at the start of a relationship. People are not dependent or reliant upon the other party and therefore do no harm by being hard to get. When someone is evasive and unreliable later in a relationship, however, the effects of hard to get behavior become a lot more severe. We will now explore the ways in which this can occur and the impact it can have. Some ways in which a person might play hard to get outside a relationship include being unreliable and unavailable after the two partners have already agreed to be in a committed relationship. This is an inversion of the normal dynamic. Normal relationships are often elusive at the start and firmer over time. A manipulator will be artificially firm at the start of a relationship to force a sense of connection, and then will become less and less available over time, once their victim is already hooked. When a person plays hard to get at a relationship's later stages, it makes the other person chase and exert effort to reconnect with the person who is pulling away. This gratifies the manipulator's ego and places power into their hands. The most expert manipulators will balance out their hard to get actions with those that convey closeness, and
This is why I encourage all of you to lie and keep up with all your lies. And then later on, tell the truth if you feel like it. This is why I encourage you that everybody in your space, friend, foe, whatever, bestie, whatever, you got to pay attention to these relationships very closely. I need you to make everybody your science project. You are a lab rat. And everybody is your dark psychology project. You understand? If you are learning this right now and you're taking this lesson right now in this moment, as you are journaling, I want you to first write down the closest people to you. And that will be your family, right? Some people, that's not the case, but that will be your family. But we know that the family relationship is a whole nother beast of a topic. Some people, it ain't that serious. I got you. So therefore, family is still even. Who is the closest to you? Who do you call bestie? Who do you call best friend? Who is someone that you call a friend? Who is someone that you trust? Who is someone that you rely on? Who is someone that's there for you? You need to write all this stuff down. You need to start there. And you need to look at, how do you conduct a relationship with this person? What is your relationship? What is the feelings? Go into all of that. Start with that. Then, of course, go into the world of your coworkers, because see, you may not realize this, but your coworkers can be the most manipulative, dark psychology relationship that you have in your life. Especially if you've been there a lot longer. I done did a year at my job. Technically, I've done 2 years with the company, but I've done a year fully with this particular department. You understand? So therefore, there are relationships, there are people, there are things that I analyze and see. So you need to do the same thing. Who is the coworker that you talk to the closest? That's called the work bestie, right? Who is the one that you laugh and giggle with? Do you have a work husband, work wife, or any of that bullshit going on? See what I'm saying? Who's the one that you talk to and be like, yeah, that motherfucker don't like me. I know you don't talk like that. But you know, who's that one? And then examine them from there. Give me a second.
And reliability. This leads to a deep psychological confusion and instability in the victim's mind, which the manipulator can then exploit for their own purposes. Chapter 5. Deception. Dark or not? Deception is a key aspect of dark psychology. Like many other dark psychological tactics, it can be difficult to tell whether any given instance of deception is dark or not.
Everybody's deceptive. All right, this is gonna be the last chapter we're gonna get into. Everybody is deceptive. Everybody wears a mask. Everybody's not what they seem to be.
Before we explore the difference between dark and normal deception, let's first understand exactly what deception is. A lot of people would state the viewpoint that lying and deception are the same thing.
Natural Reader. AI voice generator is the easiest way to clone your voice for commercial projects.
This is inaccurate. Lying is a form of deception but is by no means the only form deception can take. Rather than thinking of deception as lies, it is better to think of it as misleading. Any action or word capable of making someone believe something other than the truth can be accurately termed deception. So what are some common manifestations of deception? Lying, omitting the truth, implying falsehood, or fraudulently providing evidence for something false are all examples of deception. You will probably realize that you have done some of these things at some point yourself. Does that mean that all acts of deception?
After 1 year at this job, I'm finally admitting how many children I really have to certain people. And I still never say. I say children now. I never say how many. Unless somebody asks. That's deception. That was a lie that I've been telling for a very long time.
Are examples of dark psychology? Not at all. Everyone deceives to some extent or another.
Yes.
People might deceive others for a range of reasons such as kindness, embarrassment, or feelings of inadequacy.
Yes.
For example, studies have shown that many, even most men, will lie about their height on dating websites.
You have to look at what do people do to deceive you? What is the one thing that you always get deceived by with people? How do you get deceived? Are you somebody can be dressed real fly? Are you somebody that is very impressed by beauty and attractiveness? Are you impressed by people who have charismatic personalities? Are you deceived by people who are flattering to you? You have to be able to say, write that down, write down in this section, take notes. How am I easily deceived? What always is the one thing? I know the one thing that I get deceived by all the motherfucking time. And I'm working on that. Okay. You understand? Do you have a type? Can you be easily deceived and manipulated by someone who is your type? You see what I'm saying?
This does not make them practitioners of dark psychology. People even deceive themselves about a range of issues, including their health, ambition, and
Yes.
happiness.
Yes.
Such regular, day-to-day examples of deception do not equate to dark deception. So what does? Deception can be seen as dark when it is carried out with either a negative or indifferent intention toward the person being deceived. Normal deception is usually motivated by an inability to face up to the truth in one way or another. Dark deception, on the other hand, is an understanding that the truth does not serve the deceptive aims of the deceiver. Therefore, the truth is either changed, hidden, or ignored in favor of a version of events that better suits the purpose of the person deceiving. Put simply, people who deploy dark psychology use deception to harm, not help. They help their own interests, but at any cost, regardless of who gets hurt. Some people assume that if a deception is small scale, it cannot be seen as dark, whereas larger deceptions must be inherently dark. This is not the case. By exploring the idea of the deception spectrum, you will see that it is not the size of a deception that determines whether it is dark or not, rather the purpose behind the deception.
The purpose.
The deception spectrum. To understand the idea of deception, it is important to understand that it can occur on either a large or a small scale. One of the main mistakes that people often make is assuming that deception is only serious if it is big and does not matter if it is small. This is a grave error. Small deceptions can be used in a powerfully dark way by skilled manipulators and are often more effective than large deceptions. Similarly, some of the largest deceptions ever carried out have been performed by deliberate manipulators to serve their own aims and objectives. Dark examples of various types of deception, large and small, will now be presented to illustrate the idea of the deception spectrum. So what are some of the ways that smaller deceptions can be used by people who practice the art of dark psychology?
Commercial again.
3, 2, 1, let's go!
The hell?
Often, small deceptions are used initially to test the victim's gullibility and condition them into believing the deceptive statements and actions of the manipulator. If people are conditioned to believe a range of smaller lies over time, they are more likely to believe a larger lie in the future. This gradual conditioning is not the only way smaller deceptions can be used as a dark psychological weapon. Smaller deceptions can also be carried out to undermine a victim's trust in their own powers of logic and reason. If a manipulator deceives a victim over small issues, and the victim begins to question what is happening, the victim may well conclude that their suspicion is irrational and they therefore cannot trust their own judgment. Most people are more likely to conclude that their own judgment is faulty, rather than another person is deceiving them over seemingly small issues. Users of dark psychology are aware of this general trust that people have and seek to exploit it without mercy. Large-scale deception can also be an example of dark psychology in practice. One of the largest deceptions possible is to convince someone that you are a different person than you say you are. Not in terms of personality or some other detail. An entire identity. Name, date of birth, everything. The most skilled users of dark psychology are able to persuade other people to buy in entirely into their portrayal of a false identity and background. Now that it has been shown how manipulative users of dark psychology are able to use the deception spectrum for their own aims, we will explore some of the most common topics and subjects that people are deceived about. We will then look at exactly how these large and small-scale deceptions are carried out by exploring the specific tactics that are used. Deceptive topics. Everyone has heard the old saying that money is the root of all evil. This is an exaggeration, but money is certainly the root of many deceptions. Deception and money can cross paths in many different ways. Some people deceive to attain money, others deceive to hide their own money, or lack thereof.
Yes.
Because money is such a common topic, some of its deceptive uses will now be explored. One of the most common dark psychology deceptions involving money is carried out by the professional beggar. These are individuals that aim to extract money from the public despite having plenty of it. These beggars draw on a number of dark psychological principles to get money from innocent victims. Such beggars have been known to inflict injuries upon their own body to appear more desperate to victims.
But enough about us. Without further ado, let's get started. Why should you publish a book?
Some of the most extreme deceivers in this area have even turned their own children into heroin addicts to use them as part of their scam. This is an example of the depths that money-related deception can sink to. Marital status is another common area where people choose to deceive.
Yes.
Sometimes, people try and hide their married background to seduce a new victim. This can be for either financial or sexual or other reasons. Some people have multiple wives spread out across the world who do not know about each other. This type of deception has become harder with the advent of the internet and the ability to check up on people via social media. The best deceivers are able to hide their tracks expertly and keep each fraudulent wife separate from the next. Some people choose to appear falsely married when they are in fact not. This type of deception can occur for several reasons. A married couple is often perceived as more trustworthy than a couple that is not married.
Yes.
Some users of dark psychology are aware of this perception and use it for their own.
Married couples are the celebrities at work. Write that down. Anything that they say, everybody falls into it. Oh, somebody died in the family, something happened, I'm really sad about it, I need some money. Because there's a couple at my job, until today, I don't think nobody died. I wanted to go to their Facebook to see if there was a rest in peace anything. That's how deep it was. I'm like, I don't believe nobody fucking died. People praise married people at work or people who are together at work. Anybody ever notice that? Anybody got married couples at your job is treated like a fucking celebrity? Anyone ever notice that? And especially if it's a very long-term married couple. And I'm talking about a heteronormative one. Pay attention to that. Even someone who at work who is married but be carrying on because, flirting and stuff like that, that person is still respected and seen as something.
Schemes and plans. Some people pretend to be married for reasons related to tax and insurance. One of the most common deceptions of this type is the creation of a fictional dead husband or wife to gain people's sympathy and, often, their money as a result. A criminal background is another area of life many people are deceptive about. This is because it is almost impossible to be trusted professionally or personally if you have committed certain crimes. For example, if a man meets a woman, and the man has committed a serious crime in his past, how likely is he to tell the woman he has just met about this? It seems doubtful that he would be entirely upfront. Interestingly, such deception is not always dark. If the man does it through fear of being rejected, this is not dark deception. If he does it with the intention of hiding the truth to later harm his new victim, then this is a clear indication of dark psychology at work. One of the most evil and deplorable examples of deception related to criminality is when someone who has committed serious past offenses, such as rape, hides these in order to commit similar actions in the future. People with a dark psyche of this type are often compelled by their abnormal urges to the point they will do literally anything to hide the truth and carry on giving in to their compulsions. Manipulators also feel that deception is a great way to hide any abnormal or socially unacceptable feelings they have. This stops their victim from being alerted to the kind of person they really are until it is too late. For example, if someone who uses dark psychology is interested in a person only for sex, they know this focus is likely to be a red flag to their victim and will therefore deceive their victim. They may either overtly lie or imply that their true intention is love and commitment. The victim falls for the deception, the manipulator's exploitation is complete, and yet another person is hurt by deception. One of the most common areas to be deceptive.
I don't think it's, if you pay attention enough, you can see if somebody just wants you for sexual exploitation. Okay? You can see if somebody wants you. You can feel it if you pay attention enough. You have to be able to be strong enough to you got to learn how to mask yourself. You understand? Like I said, I don't look at people. I don't pay people no attention. And so I see how people act to me. I see how people try to slam things down and everything to get my attention. I ignore the fuck out of people. And don't let me get my headphones. You see what I'm saying? Because that is how much I don't pay people no attention. So that's just me though. But for yourself, because I don't know what kind of life you got out there, you have to learn how to be sharp. Okay? I'm just saying, this is how you can, I know males that avoid me is because, number one, abusive, manipulative, physically, mentally abusive males, they get the fuck away from my energy. You have to be a repellent like that. You got to understand that. I had a situation at work where one dude was talking about how he was hungry and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, I'll give you something. But he knew he had to pay me back. He said, well, I'll pay you back Friday. I said, all right, you give me my money Friday. Because I'm a money bitch. I'm quick to have, like, nah. So he knows. So he went to another woman at the job, another man, and she gave him a sandwich for free. He knew to go to her because he knew he didn't have to pay her, even if he had money in his pocket. So you have to develop an energetic repellent thing for yourself. So abusive and people who are like this will not come around you. Liars and deceivers, they won't stay around. They'll get the fuck away from you because they'll know that they can't play that game with you. But you have to develop that level of energy for that to happen.
And is the truth of a manipulator's personal feelings for a victim. Deception is the most powerful tool the manipulator has to influence a victim to perceive things in the way the manipulator wishes, rather than how they really are. Typically, deception will be used in relation to interpersonal feelings to portray the manipulator as something they are not. Some of the most common examples of this use of deception will now be provided. Within the field of romantic relationships, deception is often used to mask the manipulator's true intentions. Deceptive words and actions will leave a victim feeling as if the manipulator just happens to be what they are looking for at that particular time in their life.
Yes.
In actual fact, skilled manipulators are able to identify vulnerable people and probe their psychological needs and weak points. This information can then be used to deceptively cloak the manipulator and make them appear to be something they are not, but something the victim wishes they were. This deception is often the starting point of more complex, long-term manipulations. Deception can also be used to soften up the victim's feelings in a non-romantic context and increase their susceptibility to manipulation. If, for example, a manipulator is looking for a vulnerable person to use dark psychology against, they may initially portray their own intentions as innocent. Even if the intention is to become intensely close to a person, the manipulator will usually deceptively portray himself as a very casual, easygoing person. This deception can be prolonged if needed. The manipulator will be whatever the victim needs, for as long as the victim needs, in order to get their guard down and allow the thorough manipulation to begin. Deceptive tactics. You now understand what exactly dark deception is, its spectrum, and the common areas people are deceived about. Now it is time to examine closely the specific tactics used by manipulators to darkly deceive. Each of the tactics is equally powerful, and careful manipulators know exactly how to use each at its most impactful and harmful time. It is important to note that manipulators will not neatly alternate between the four following categories. Any given deception is likely to involve a blend of each. Lying is perhaps the most obvious and common form of dark deception.
A CRM shouldn't set your teams back. It should revolutionize the way they.
It is likely to be chosen as a technique when the manipulator has decided that their victim is susceptible to lies and unable to gauge the truth. This may be because the victim is a generally trusting person, or that the manipulator has carefully worked on their target over time to lower their guard. If a manipulator has chosen to deceive through the use of lies, then it is likely they have also thought of a way to hide their lies and explain any discrepancies the victim may notice. Manipulators are masters of having a plan B at any given time during their dark deception. Deception through lying is likely to occur in a subtle and thought-out way. A skilled deceiver is likely to embed their lie into truthful information over time. For example, a manipulator will probably tell a story that is 90% true and 10% false.
Pay attention to what people tell you about themselves. This is where the mask slips off about liars and deceivers. They are going to always tell you a story about somebody else. They're always going to tell you, they play victim a lot. Oh, I remember one person was like, oh, I don't like this, and it's funny, they were all Libras, right? Oh, I don't like this person because they were saying that, I was doing this and that, and I don't like this person because this person said I was doing this and that, and then this person, like, this is what they always say. And it's like, well, goddamn, somebody in this circle ain't lying. Because you're going to find out that person is exactly everything that person said. No one is going to want to, see, that's what some people don't, that's what a mask can slip off sometimes. You have to pay attention to that, right? People who are in tune, you have to understand that people's masks are going to slip off. They're going to whisper and say shit to us. They can't help themselves. They can't hide with us, okay? So, still, even if then, if you got a good master manipulator in your face, you have to pay attention to that. Pay attention to the way that they tell you stories. I had one time a dude was like, oh yeah, and then in this place I worked at with troubled children, one of the guys messing with one of the girls, but yet you are still calling one of the girls from this place. First of all, anybody who wants to work with troubled youth is a red flag to me. See, you have to have your red flags too.
The victim will perceive the story as entirely true and not have any way of separating and ascertaining the truth regarding deceptive 10%. Some manipulators also spend time associating truth with a particular tone of voice or gesture. They can then say something falsely deceptive in this tone of voice or with this gesture, and it is likely to be perceived as true by their victim's subconscious.
Right.
Implying is a more subtle form of deception than out-and-out lying. Implying involves suggesting something false is true rather than boldly stating it is.
Yes.
Let's illustrate this idea with an example. If someone wanted to deceive a victim about the amount of money they have, then they could either lie or imply. A lie would sound something like, oh, I'm a successful guy. I've made a lot of money, while the manipulator is well aware this is not the case. An implication may take the form of, it's so stressful trying to handle things with my accountant. Trying to get my tax bill down takes a lot of my time.
People hide their money. Nobody really wants somebody to know how much money they have. The more money I save, the more I invest, the more I'm learning about financial literacy, the more I'm teaching myself, the more I don't want to talk about my money.
The manipulator has acted and spoken in a way that implies they are wealthy without flatly stating it. Manipulators often favor implications, such as those just mentioned, as they provide plausible deniability. If the victim accuses the manipulator of lying, the manipulator can say they did no such thing, and technically be truthful. Implications are also powerful if a victim happens to have an active imagination. The deceptive implication can be seen as a seed planted in the mind of the victim. The victim's own imagination then does the manipulator's work for them and fills in the blank spaces to create an idealized version of reality, according to the manipulator's prompts. Omission is a failure to mention something that is true. This stands in contrast with other forms of deception such as lies or implications.
Meet Dalpad's modern business.
Both lies and implications use falsehood to cover truth, to varying degrees. Omission instead goes the route of simply ignoring the truth and leading the victim's attention away from it. For example, if a manipulative user of dark psychology had an aspect of their past they did not want their victim to focus on, they would simply never mention it. They would draw attention to other times in their past or swerve the subject whenever possible. One way omission is often carried out is by creating an emotional fence around a situation. This is a tactic in which a manipulator implies that a particular period of their life or topic is too painful or uncomfortable to discuss. The victim will then avoid talking about this time or asking awkward questions of their own volition. If the victim does bring up the subject the manipulator wishes to avoid, then the manipulator can play the "it's too painful" card. This allows them to avoid the truth while making the victim feel guilty for touching on a painful topic. Fraud is the most elaborate and criminal form of deception used by those who deploy dark psychology. Think of fraud as a lie on steroids. Instead of simply lying about something from their past, a fraudulent dark deceiver will have false documents, stories, and other evidence to back up their lie. The most skillful deceivers will use such things in a subtle way. Rather than saying, "No, I really am a doctor, look at my certificate," they are likely to make subtle displays such as leaving the fraudulent evidence around for their victims to see for themselves. Deceivers know that if they are too pushy with their fraudulent claims, then the victim will intuit that something is wrong. Worryingly, fraud is more common than ever thanks to the prevalence of computers and the internet. Deceivers are able to use professional-grade software to quickly and easily make realistic-looking documents of almost any type. Such frauds can be carried out for either personal or professional reasons. Some of the most serious types of professional fraud include instances where people have obtained jobs using a false identity, stolen from a company, and then disappeared before their identity can ever be known. Personal frauds include terrifying tales such as people with HIV spreading the disease with the help of falsely produced certificates of clean sexual health. When dark deception enters the realm of fraudulence, it is a sign that the deceiver is a dangerous and committed user of dark psychology. For a person to risk running afoul of the law and facing serious criminal charges, they have to be truly committed to the manipulation they are attempting. If many users of dark deception are amateurs, the deceptive fraudsters are the dangerous professionals that must be avoided at all costs. Ironically, one of the main ways dark deception is often carried out effectively is following the manipulator's own pantomime of feeling deceived by their victim. Many manipulators know that, by portraying their victim as the deceptive party, they are able to deflect any attention away from their own deceptive efforts. This is an example of a deception within a deception and shows the complex, layered approach to manipulation that many deceivers use. Chapter 6. Hypnotism. Hypnotism.
Alrighty then.
Of all the aspects of dark psychology,
This chapter 6 is hypnotism. Okay, so we're going to end it here. We're going to end at where are we at? 122.02. Okay, we're going to stop here. So we're going to get into we're in chapter 6. I have not been in my comment section. to hypnotism. We are going to do a review of this one. This was a good chapter. Sound mind games. Mind games is a psychological scheme. Games people have, people play have particular dark variants. Chapter 5 session, right? Excuse me. So, and we got into the different dark versus normal deception. And remember, this is Dark Psychology 101. Then we're going to jump into Dark Psychology 202. And then we're going to jump into Darvo. Okay? That's how we're going to do this. This is how it's going to play out for us. So let's go ahead and put that in there. For me, anyway, when I come back to the studio, I can find this. All right. So this is it. This is where we're going to stop at. Okay. We did good. We did 1 hour and 35 minutes, about 2 hours. So when I get my rest and I come back again, we'll get into hypnotism, because with hypnotism, I really want to get into what I was just talking about with the energy, the grifter, and everything that comes with that. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. This was a great show. I hope you took a lot of notes. We'll come back again on the notes that we took tonight. Yeah, man. I'm out of here.